Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a really massive, absolutely critical shift in the global AI landscape driven by some super fresh data from mid-2026. Now, if you've been closely following the AI space, you already know things move incredibly fast, but what we're looking at today isn't just another shiny new model. No, it is a complete paradigm shift in how open weight AI is being developed, released, and adopted all over the globe.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our structured briefing for today. First, the 8-week AI sprint. Then, the Chinese open weight scoreboard. Next, the thinning Western bench, followed by the sovereign AI dilemma. And finally, we'll ask, will the window stay open?
All right, Section 1, the 8-week AI sprint, a truly blistering pace of release.
Let's actually trace this timeline because it's pretty wild. DeepSeq v4 kicked things off on April 24, 2026. Just over a month later, Minimax M3 dropped. And then, bam, mid-June hit us with a double feature, Kimi K 2.7 code and GLM-5.2. The really critical thread tying all of this together, every single one of these is a frontier-class model. They're entirely downloadable, mostly operating under permissive licenses, and they are drastically undercutting Western API pricing. And here's the number that should honestly make you pause. 8. All of these massive frontier-class releases happened in a span of just 8 weeks. I mean, think about it. Most tech companies can't even finalize a simple logo redesign in 8 weeks. Yet we're seeing the staggering rate of output from Chinese labs, compressing what used to take months or literally even years into a mere 2-month window.
The source material summarizes this vibe perfectly. That's not a wave, that's a production line. This really underscores the unprecedented, almost manufacturing-like consistency of these labs right now. They aren't just periodically releasing models anymore. They've established a highly efficient, systematic engine for churning out high-level, open-weight AI. Moving on to Section 2, the Chinese open-weight scoreboard, deep depth in the field.
So let's look at this BenchLM data from July 2026. The proprietary closed frontier leader is sitting at a top score of 93. But right behind it, leading the open field, is DeepSeq v4 Pro at 87, with GLM 5.1 trailing closely at 83. You see what's happening here? The gap between the open weight field and the closed frontier is now just a single-digit margin. These open models are literally right on the heels of the closed giants.
And this brilliantly illustrates how rapidly the ecosystem has evolved. Just 2 years ago, the Chinese open field was basically one lab deep. Today, we have 4 major players making very distinct bets. DeepSeq anchors the price floor. ZAI is going all in for raw intelligence. Moonshot is specifically tuned to cut thinking tokens by 30% for long-horizon agents. And Alibaba's Quen offers these great compact, self-hostable variants. It's become a deeply, deeply specialized arena.
Let's actually drill down into DeepSeq v4 Pro for a second to ground these capability claims in hard data. Its architecture features a massive 1.6 trillion total parameters. But here's the real efficiency trick. It only activates 49 billion parameters per forward pass. When you combine that massive efficiency with a 1 million token context window, you get a model that's aggressively anchoring the cheap end of the market while still delivering absolute top-tier performance.
Section 3, the thinning Western bench, a shifting center of gravity.
The geographic shift in dominance is perhaps best summarized by this one powerful statistic. By mid-2026, 4 of the 5 most capable open-weight model families come from Chinese labs. Think about that for a second. That is a stunning concentration of open-weight capability localized in one specific region. To understand how we actually got there, we need to look at the current status of the Western open-weight bench, which, well, has noticeably thinned out. According to our sources, Meta's flagship open effort has stalled, and while AI2's Almo 3 represents the strongest genuinely open-source release, meaning fully open source, not just open weight, it currently trails the Chinese leaders on raw capability. We are seeing a really direct contrast here, an unstoppable production line in the East versus stalling open weight momentum in the West.
Okay, Section 4, the sovereign AI dilemma, the strategic impact on global deployments.
So, the crucial point is that this rapid cadence is both an incredible gift and a massive complication all at once. The gift, a collapse in capability tax on self-hosting. Combined with those permissive licenses we talked about, serious on-premises AI is now totally economically viable. But the complication, hosted Chinese APIs process prompts under Chinese data law. For Western enterprises running highly regulated workloads, that lack of data sovereignty is just an immediate disqualifier. No way around it.
Now, what's really interesting here is a critical distinction between an app and weights, a nuance that is so often lost in those flashy, panic-inducing media headlines. When you hear that an app is banned on government devices, we're talking about a hosted service that can phone home. But the weights? Those are just downloadable files. They can't phone home on their own, they run entirely locally, and they remain perfectly legal. It's a basic media literacy check that completely changes the risk profile.
So, you might be wondering, why this furious sprint in the first place? Well, the source material objectively outlines two primary motivations driving this cadence from Chinese labs. On one hand, it's a strategic response to U.S. export controls. Essentially, hardware scarcity is forcing rapid breakthroughs in algorithmic efficiency out of sheer necessity. On the other hand, it represents a strategic land grab. By providing these highly capable, cheap, and open models, these labs are actively aiming to become the world's default AI substrate. Those are the twin engines fueling this unprecedented production line.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5. Will the window stay open? The fragile nature of the current landscape.
Let's move ahead and see how this builds a picture of intense strategic vulnerability. Open weight capability is now refreshing in weeks, driven mostly from China. If your infrastructure assumes open models improve slowly, well, you're already behind. Furthermore, today's permissive licensing could literally vanish with the next release, and export postures can flip overnight. Building a tech stock assuming this window stays open permanently leaves you completely unhedged against sudden geopolitical shifts.
And that brings us to a really critical closing thought. How long will this open weight window actually stay open? We're currently sitting in what feels like a golden era of capable, accessible AI substrate, driven by an unprecedented, fast-moving Chinese production line. But the geopolitical and regulatory foundations beneath it are incredibly fragile. If the licensing changes or the export posture shifts, will your infrastructure actually survive? Take some time to think about how these shifting dynamics affect the technology you rely on every single day. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay curious, and I'll catch you next time.